As they say, she was an overnight success. It took decades, but she was an overnight success. She labored at her craft literally for decades in some little town in northern Minnesota. A poet she was, an unknown poet at that. Until one day, a book of her poetry caught fire. A book of poetry, the product of sweat and tears and who knows how many rewrites. Suddenly, it ascended the bestseller list. Some 30 years after her graduation from school, a forgotten English major stood on the stage, a recipient of an honorary degree and a warm ovation. After all those years, it was a moment of glory. I had been sick off and on, I think it was like 2 weeks or so. And so my name had tumbled on the depth chart. And so there I was this one overcast Saturday morning on the sidelines with my high school football team. Our defense was doing its best to stop what was, if I recall, an offensive onslaught. And standing on the sidelines, having some free time, I noticed again and again and again that this team would exploit this one particular play. And for whatever reason, either the coaches were clueless or we just didn't have the ability to adjust. But again and again, with great success, the quarterback would snap, the ball would be snapped, he'd drop back short, he'd look to the right, he'd fake, and then all alone in the flat was a running back, and he'd just dump it off, and the guy was off to the races. Well, this went on for a while, and finally, exasperated, the coach was so desperate. Ask me, how desperate was he?
How desperate was he?
He sent me in. That's how desperate he was. Now 87th string on the depth chart. So I don't remember exactly. I know I was on the left side. And maybe it was the second or the third play in the series. But the ball was snapped. And you know how those moments come in life? Those of you who have ascended to the pinnacle of athletic achievement like me. All of a sudden, things just kind of slowed down. They just slowed down. And I'm standing there and I go, I think I've seen this before. Sure as shooting, there he was. He's faking to the right. And there's the running back all alone. So I just started to walk over, and the quarterback completed the pass to me. And I took off all the way 30 yards to glory. Every cheerleader was in love with me. Well, let's not go too far. But anyway, but you would say, Pastor Oberle, that is so many years ago. How could you possibly remember? Oh, I remember. I remember vividly every step to glory because such moments have been exceedingly rare in my life. In John's telling of the story of Jesus, certain words loom large. One of those words that you hear again and again is the word believe. For God so loved the world that he gave his only Son, that all those who believe in him should not perish but have eternal life. Another word would be love. Another word would be truth. Jesus says to Pilate, I came into the world to bear witness to the truth. And Pilate asked him, what is truth? Not surprisingly, the word doxa, Greek, glory, figures prominently in John's telling as well. And so important is that word in the life of Jesus that starting in Cana in Galilee at a wedding where somebody didn't plan appropriately and now the wine has run out, Jesus changes water into wine and John says, glory, glory. And as we continue to follow along, it precedes this glory to manifest itself, to unfold in encounter in moment after moment. Glory, John wants us to understand, is the presence of God in power. Power on our side. Power for the sake of life. And how should we put this? it isn't always this glory expressed in the way that we would expect. Many of us have walked some of these well-worn paths through the New Testament, and by now, even the thickest among us, I include myself in the ranks, have come to realize that God sees the world a little differently. In the Bible, success is not seen as the world defines it. Greatness, that word evokes in our heads all kinds of images, of accolades and riches and awards and popularity and power. But Jesus defines greatness with a towel around his waist on bended knee, holding a bowl of water. Jesus operates with a peculiar definition of glory. On the one hand, in the scriptures and in John's gospel, there is majesty aplenty. There, a blaze of light more brilliant than the sun at noonday on a cloudless day. Jesus speaking to the wind and waves and displays so magnificent, it leaves us without any words at all. But mostly moments that would be completely lost on someone who wasn't paying some attention. An expression of gentle kindness, an expression of humility, which seems really in short supply in our world today. A touch that acknowledges the dignity of another human being. A handful of words that cause someone to, on bended low, to suddenly stand again. A gesture that conveys nothing less than unconditional love. There was a young woman, true story, newly married, who had a tumor that had been excised from her face. And after the surgery, the woman's face, her mouth, was twisted in a certain way. And everyone here knows, we all know, that when we are injured, when we are wounded, and particularly all of us, when it is our face, it is that much more noticeable and seems to be exaggerated in our minds in terms of how it has distorted our looks. She looked in the mirror and then she said to the surgeon, "Will it always stay like this?" And the surgeon said that it would. That in order to remove the growth, he said, I had no choice but to sever just a tiny branch of a nerve in order to release a muscle to get that tumor out and away. She looked in the mirror and then she lowered her head. She was clearly upset, distraught. And then the surgeon said, her young husband bended down low, and he looked at her and he looked at the surgeon and he said, "Actually, I kind of like it." He said, "It's really cute." With that, he kissed her on the lips. And he said, "See, it still works." Touching moment for sure. But for those who were paying attention, it was so much more. The surgeon later remarked that he said, "I caught a glimpse of Jesus in that moment. A brief moment of incandescent glory in a young man's sympathy, in his brokenness, in his gentleness, and his love, unconditional love for his wife. An odd understanding of glory. And stranger still, in the Gospel of John, the moment of greatest glory, isn't Jesus standing in the middle of the lake, beckoning Peter to come toward him, but it is Jesus stretched and tortured on the cross. The glory, the incredible presence of God's power for our sake. Hidden, a good Lutheran would say, hidden beneath all of its opposites. We are invited this morning, all of us, to share in that glory. In fact, an artist from the Middle Ages, I forget the name, but he painted a picture of this glory. And it is a picture of a table with 4 chairs, 4 sides. And seated at those chairs are the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. There is a chair that is empty, and that is the chair that is left just for you to come and sit and to share in that glory, to reflect that glory and extend that glory into the world, and oftentimes in the most mundane the most ordinary of moments.